It was a calm Tuesday morning when my phone rang, showing a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something deep inside nudged me to answer. The voice on the other end was polite, yet unfamiliar, and what he said made my stomach drop. "Mrs. Adeline, my name is Warren, and I run Timekeeper's Vault. I have something that belonged to your late husband, something I believe you need to see in person." My heart stopped. Michael had been gone for 6 months, and the only item he left me was his antique gold watch, the one he wore every Sunday to our brunch at Carter's Diner. And now, somehow, it was gone. "What watch are you referring to?" I asked, my voice shaking as I gripped the counter. Memories of Michael's gentle smile and warm laughter surged through me. Warren's voice softened. "A gold watch, Mrs. Adeline, engraved with his initials on the back. Your son and his wife sold it to me 3 days ago, but when I opened it for cleaning, I discovered something they didn't know was inside. Something only you should see." The words reverberated in my mind. Nathan and Lila had sold Michael's watch, the only inheritance he left me after 45 years of marriage. My knees went weak, and my vision blurred. I sank onto the sofa, feeling the room spin around me. How could they betray me like this? "Warren, that watch wasn't theirs to sell. It belonged to me," I whispered, more to myself than to him. "I understand, Mrs. Adeline," he replied gently. "That's why I'm reaching out. There's more here than they realized. Can you come by the shop this afternoon?" I hung up, my hands still trembling, and walked toward the curio cabinet where I kept Michael's few treasured possessions. Opening the top drawer, I found it completely empty. My chest tightened as panic and regret collided inside me. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the empty drawer, as if the watch might suddenly reappear. Michael's presence lingered in the room, his jacket over the chair, his coffee mug in the sink, the faint trace of his aftershave. I remembered the last Sunday morning I had seen him with it. He was humming in the kitchen while flipping pancakes, the watch catching the sunlight. It had always felt like a promise, a symbol of our years together. Why hadn't I noticed the subtle signs? Nathan and Lila's sudden trips, the hushed conversations behind closed doors. I should have seen it coming. Still, a gnawing worry crept in. What could Warren have found inside the watch? Something secret, something Michael wanted only me to discover? My mind raced, imagining countless possibilities. I recalled Michael's words during our last anniversary dinner, "Adeline, some things are meant to find their way back to you, even if I'm not here." Could this be one of them? I tried calling Warren, but it went straight to voicemail. My hands shook as I left a message, my voice barely steady, pleading for answers. The day dragged on, each tick of the clock amplifying my anxiety. I paced the living room, imagining the watch in someone else's hands, its secrets exposed before me. By late afternoon, I forced myself to shower, attempting to wash away the anxiety that had settled deep in my chest. Even the warm water couldn't melt the gnawing dread. I dressed carefully, something comfortable but strong, as if armor could shield me from the unknown. The drive downtown was quiet, every red light a moment to steel myself. When I finally arrived at the shop, the polished brass sign gleamed in the fading sun, "Timekeeper's Vault." My breath caught. Whatever was inside that watch was about to reveal itself. The bell above the door chimed as I stepped inside, greeted by the rich scent of polished wood and leather. Warren emerged from behind the counter, holding a small box with careful hands. "Mrs. Adeline," he said softly, "I'll show you what I discovered, but please, take a seat." I perched on the worn leather chair, gripping the edges as my pulse quickened. He opened the box, revealing Michael's gold watch, gleaming as though it had never left my hands. But it wasn't just the watch that made my heart skip. Nestled beneath the mechanism was a small, fragile piece of paper, yellowed with age. I picked it up with trembling fingers, unfolding it to reveal Michael's unmistakable handwriting. "Adeline, if you're reading this, someone tried to take what was never theirs. Trust no one but yourself, and follow the trail. All will be revealed. I gasped, clutching the note to my chest. Michael had left me a puzzle, a secret intended only for me. Who had sold the watch? Why hide this message? Warren's expression softened. I didn't open this part. I thought you should be the first to see it. I nodded, grateful but overwhelmed. This wasn't just about a watch, it was about betrayal, secrets, and perhaps danger. Nathan and Lila's actions were only the beginning. The more I unraveled, the more I would learn about the people I trusted most. Yet, a spark of hope ignited. Michael had left me a path, a trail to follow, not just to reclaim the watch, but to uncover the truth. I left the shop holding the box tightly, my mind buzzing with questions, unaware that the real shock hadn't even arrived yet. The drive home felt heavy, every red light a reminder of the tension inside me. I held the watch and note close, as if proximity could shield me from what was coming. At home, I locked the doors and sat at the kitchen table, studying the note. The handwriting was so familiar, each curve and loop evoking memories of Michael's voice, his laugh, the way he held my hand. I examined the message. Trust no one but yourself. Why such secrecy? Michael had always been open, never one for riddles. Yet here it was, carefully concealed for me alone. Thoughts turned to Nathan and Lila. I had tried to protect them, nurture them, and now they had betrayed me. For what? To fund Lila's boutique? The pain cut deeper than any wound I had felt in years. I paced the kitchen, imagining the watch leaving my hands, the note hidden beneath its delicate mechanism. My stomach churned. What else might Michael have left me? The clock ticked loudly, each second a reminder that time was slipping away, that the answers were waiting, just out of reach. I made a decision. I wouldn't confront Nathan and Lila yet. First, I needed the puzzle to reveal itself. I pulled up old emails, receipts, and messages, searching for anything that could hint at the hidden meaning behind the watch. Hours passed. The sun dipped low, casting shadows across the kitchen. And then, buried in a string of old communications, I discovered the first clue, a safety deposit box in downtown Chicago, never mentioned before. My pulse raced. This was it, the first step. Michael had left a trail, a path to follow, promising answers, and perhaps, justice. The next morning, I woke with a restless energy that refused to leave me. Breakfast felt like a chore, the toast dry in my hands, the coffee bitter. I kept glancing at the watch on the counter, as if it could whisper its secrets. I dressed quickly, slipping into my leather jacket, the one Michael had always liked. The city outside seemed alive and indifferent, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. Parking near the downtown bank, I felt a mixture of fear and anticipation. A safety deposit box, the idea of it being so close yet locked away made my heart race. I entered the lobby, the cool air-conditioned space a sharp contrast to the sunlit streets outside. A young teller smiled politely, handing me a clipboard. My fingers shook as I filled out the forms. I kept replaying Michael's note in my head. Trust no one but yourself, the words echoed like a warning. Who else knew about this box? Could Nathan and Lila be following me even now? Finally, the teller led me to a small, sterile room. The key slid into the lock, and I held my breath as the door clicked open. Inside, a single metal box sat waiting. With trembling hands, I lifted the lid, revealing a bundle wrapped in soft velvet. Inside was another watch, an exact twin of Michael's, but with subtle differences, and beneath it, another note. Adeline, some secrets are heavier than gold. This watch holds the truth. Read carefully, and you'll know what to do. I felt a shiver run down my spine. Michael had hidden something crucial in plain sight, a message only I could decipher. Leaving the bank, I tucked the note and watch safely into my bag, aware that each step I took was leading me deeper into a story far more tangled than I had imagined. Back home, I spread the notes and watches across the dining table. The resemblance between the two watches was uncanny, yet there were faint scratches and marks that hinted at hidden compartments. I examined Michael's handwriting again. Each word was deliberate, almost like a code. My mind raced with questions. What exactly had Nathan and Lila uncovered? Why hadn't Michael mentioned this to me before he died? I decided to take a magnifying glass to the watches, studying every gear, every tiny engraving. Hours passed, each tick of the clock echoing the tension building in my chest. Suddenly, I noticed a faint line, barely visible, running along the backplate of one watch. Carefully, I pressed and heard a soft click. A tiny compartment opened, revealing a folded photograph and a small key. The photograph showed Michael with a man I didn't recognize, standing in front of a nondescript warehouse. Scribbled on the back were the words, "Trust only her, the one who never wavered." My pulse quickened. Who was this man? And what had Michael been protecting? Everything suddenly felt bigger than family squabbles over money. I realized the key must open something else, somewhere Michael had hidden even more secrets. The stakes had just escalated, and I had no idea what dangers lay ahead. For the first time, I understood Michael's note fully. He wasn't just leaving me an inheritance, he was leaving me a mission. I glanced at the clock, feeling time pressing down on me. The longer I waited, the more I risked someone else discovering the truth first. I packed the watch, key, and photograph into a small satchel, mentally preparing myself to step into a world Michael had shielded me from. The sun dipped below the skyline, painting the city in orange and purple, and I felt a strange mix of fear and determination. This journey wasn't just about the watch anymore, it was about uncovering the truth Michael had fought to protect. The following day, I traced the photograph to an old district near the river, where warehouses stood abandoned and silent. The streets were empty, except for the occasional delivery truck rumbling past. I held the key tightly, the metal cold against my palm. Every shadow seemed to whisper secrets, every echo of footsteps set my nerves on edge. I found the warehouse in the photograph, its paint peeling, windows cracked. A small door at the back seemed untouched, as if waiting for me all these years. Sliding the key into the lock, I felt a thrill of anticipation. The lock clicked open, and I pushed the door, revealing a room filled with crates and forgotten machinery. Among the clutter, I spotted a small safe, almost hidden behind a stack of old boxes. My heart raced. This was it, the next step Michael had prepared. I knelt before the safe, inserting the key. It opened with a satisfying click, revealing bundles of letters, photographs, and an envelope with my name on it. Hands trembling, I opened the envelope. Inside were documents that proved Michael had uncovered a large-scale fraud involving someone close to our family. I gasped, the implications sinking in. Nathan and Lila's boutique wasn't just a business, they had unknowingly become part of something much bigger. Fear mixed with anger, and I realized I couldn't let them be dragged into this mess. I needed to act carefully, following Michael's plan to the letter. The room felt heavy with secrets as I packed the letters and documents, knowing that every step forward would bring me closer to truths some people wanted buried. I returned home late that evening, exhausted but resolute. The city lights twinkled outside my window, oblivious to the storm of revelations unfolding inside my apartment. I spread out the documents across the table, studying every detail. Names, dates, transactions, Michael had left a trail that would expose deception, betrayal, and hidden alliances. I thought of Nathan and Lila. How innocent they had seemed, how little they knew they were pawns in a much larger game. My anger towards them softened slightly, replaced by worry. I poured myself a glass of wine, the liquid trembling in my hand. Each sip reminded me of Michael's presence, his quiet guidance, and the faith he had placed in me. I realized then that the watches were more than timepieces, they were keys, each containing a clue Michael had meticulously hidden for me to discover. I studied the photograph again, noticing details I had missed: a small mark on the warehouse wall, a symbol etched in faint white paint. It was another piece of the puzzle, another hint Michael had left behind. Night fell, and I barely slept. My mind was consumed by questions, strategies, and the faint thrill of discovery. This was bigger than I had imagined, and Michael's ingenuity was astounding. By morning, I had made a plan. I would follow every clue, uncover every secret, and ensure that Nathan and Lila never suffered from the deception surrounding them. And yet, a lingering fear gnawed at me. Whoever had hidden these truths had gone to great lengths to keep them secret, and they might still be watching. The next steps were clear, but the path ahead was uncertain. Michael had left me the pieces, but I would have to navigate the dangers alone, just as he intended. The next morning, I left my apartment with a renewed sense of purpose. The satchel containing the watches, the key, and the documents felt heavy, but I didn't mind. Each item was a piece of Michael's plan, a guide to uncovering the truth. I decided my first stop would be Michael's old office, tucked away in a corner of the city where he had worked on private commissions. The streets were quiet, the air crisp with the scent of autumn. Inside the office, dust lay thick on the surfaces. Michael's desk remained as he had left it, papers stacked neatly, a framed photo of us smiling together. Nostalgia hit me sharply, almost like a physical ache. I began searching the drawers systematically. Finally, behind a false back in one of the cabinets, I discovered a leather-bound journal, worn with age. Michael's handwriting adorned the pages in meticulous script. The entries detailed his suspicions about a financial scheme, one that tied directly to Nathan and Lila's boutique, though the notes never mentioned them by name. Michael had been investigating quietly, ensuring no one would be harmed. One entry mentioned a meeting at a downtown cafe, where Michael had hidden a small envelope with more instructions. My heart pounded. I had to retrieve it before anyone else could discover it. I tucked the journal into my bag, noting each page and its significance. Michael had clearly anticipated that I would follow these steps, leaving a breadcrumb trail only I could decipher. My mind wandered briefly to Nathan and Lila. Did they suspect any of this? I hoped not. Michael had wanted to protect them, but his methods were enigmatic, leaving me as the sole executor of his plan. I left the office carefully, double-checking the satchel. Every step I took now carried the weight of responsibility. I had to proceed cautiously, or the entire plan could collapse. As I stepped onto the sidewalk, the city seemed oblivious, buzzing with life while I carried secrets that could unravel everything. The thrill of discovery mingled with anxiety, each breath a reminder that Michael had trusted me for a reason. The cafe Michael mentioned was modest, tucked between a bookstore and a florist. The bell above the door jingled as I entered, and the smell of roasted coffee beans enveloped me. I looked around, scanning for anything out of place. At first, it seemed empty, but then I noticed a small envelope taped beneath a chair near the window. My hands shook as I retrieved it. Inside was a single key and a note in Michael's handwriting. This unlocks what Nathan and Lila never realized. Handle with care, and trust your instincts. I felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Michael had left me not only clues but also responsibility. Whoever had attempted to profit from his possessions would soon face consequences, guided by his meticulous instructions. Returning home, I examined the key against the watches and the safe I had already opened. It fit none of them, suggesting another hidden location, another secret waiting to be unveiled. I couldn't help but feel a sense of connection with Michael, as if he were silently walking beside me, guiding me through this intricate maze he had constructed. Hours passed as I mapped out every detail: the photograph, the keys, the journals, the notes. Everything aligned, and yet, the final revelation remained out of reach. I made a mental note to approach Nathan and Lila carefully. They were pawns in a larger game, and I needed to uncover the truth before exposing them to danger or heartbreak. Evening fell, and the city lights reflected off the windows, casting a surreal glow across my living room. I poured myself a cup of tea, trying to calm the storm of thoughts racing through my mind. Despite the exhaustion, a sense of purpose filled me. Michael had left a trail, and I would follow it to the very end, uncovering secrets that some had tried desperately to bury. The following morning, I returned to the warehouse from the photograph, armed with the new key and a growing determination. The neighborhood was quiet, the streets lined with amber leaves fluttering in the wind. I approached the back door cautiously, checking for signs of anyone else. Everything appeared undisturbed. The key fit perfectly, turning with a soft click that echoed through the empty alley. Inside, I found a smaller compartment I had missed before, tucked behind crates and old equipment. Sliding open the metal panel revealed a collection of envelopes, each meticulously labeled with dates and names. One envelope, marked with Michael's initials, contained contracts, letters, and photographs documenting transactions I had never known about. Some were financial, others personal, but all painted a clear picture of deception and betrayal. I felt my hands tremble as I sifted through the papers. Michael had known more than he ever shared, and these documents were the key to understanding everything. Among the files, I found a letter addressed to me. It was longer than the others, written in Michael's calm, deliberate handwriting, explaining his intentions, his foresight, and why only I could execute the plan. I realized the stakes were far higher than I had imagined. This wasn't just about a watch or a business, it was about justice, about righting wrongs that could ruin innocent lives. The room seemed heavier, the shadows stretching longer as the sun dipped lower. I felt both exhilarated and terrified, knowing I was now in the center of a web Michael had created. Packing everything carefully, I promised myself I would proceed methodically, step by step, ensuring no detail was overlooked, no clue left unexamined. By the time I left the warehouse, dusk had fallen. The city felt silent, almost complicit, as if holding its breath along with me. Back home, I spread the documents, photographs, and notes across the table. Each piece revealed layers of deceit, each clue pointing to hidden truths about my family, Michael's work, and the people we trusted. Nathan and Lila's boutique now appeared in a new light. Their innocent smiles, their casual business dealings, all of it had been manipulated by forces I was only beginning to understand. I felt anger, betrayal, and sorrow mix within me. Michael had protected them, but in doing so, had left me the heavy responsibility of navigating a dangerous path. I examined the second watch again, noting subtle differences in engraving and wear patterns. Michael's meticulous nature became even more apparent. Nothing was accidental. A sudden realization hit me: the watches were not just tools, they were messages, guides, and warnings. Michael had built a complex system, and I was the only one capable of decoding it. I pored over the journal once more, cross-referencing dates and events. Patterns emerged, revealing connections between people I had trusted and those I had never suspected. The night deepened, the city outside quiet, yet inside my apartment, a storm of secrets, plans, and revelations raged. I felt the weight of Michael's foresight pressing down on me. I knew the next step would be the most dangerous. Whoever had sold the watch might still be watching, waiting to see if I would unravel the truth. Despite fear, I felt a surge of determination. Michael had left me a trail, and I would follow it, not just for justice, but for love, loyalty, and the truth he trusted me to uncover. As I finally sat back, exhausted but focused, I realized the journey was only halfway complete. The secrets I had uncovered were just the beginning. The next morning, I couldn't wait any longer. I decided to confront Nathan and Lila, not angrily, but carefully, armed with the information Michael had left me. I needed to gauge their reactions, figure out what they truly knew. I arrived at their apartment, a modern loft downtown. The sunlight bounced off the glass walls, giving the place a warm, cozy glow that contrasted sharply with the storm brewing inside me. Nathan greeted me at the door, his usual casual smile faltering slightly when he saw the determined look in my eyes. Lila lingered behind him, her hand brushing nervously over a counter. "Mom, what's going on?" Nathan asked, a flicker of worry in his expression. I held the satchel tightly, the weight of Michael's secrets pressing against my chest. I took a deep breath. "I know what you did. About the watch, and I know why you did it. But there's more, something you don't understand yet." Their eyes widened, a mix of fear and confusion crossing their faces. Lila's lips trembled, and Nathan's jaw tightened. I could see the cracks forming in their carefully maintained composure. I laid the watch, the key, and the photograph on the table. "Michael left a trail for me. There's more at stake than either of you realized. And I'm going to uncover the truth, whether you help me or not." Nathan ran a hand through his hair, his voice tight. "Mom, we didn't know, we didn't think it was a big deal. It was just a business decision." "Just a business decision?" I echoed sharply. "You sold a part of him, a piece of your father's legacy, without thinking about what it meant. There's a lot more than money involved here, and now you're part of something far bigger than yourselves." Lila's hands were shaking. "Mom, we didn't know there was anything hidden in it. Please, we didn't mean to." I held up a hand, silencing her. "I know. That's why Michael left the trail for me. I'll handle the rest. But you need to trust me, because whatever comes next could change everything." Once I left Nathan and Lila's apartment, I felt a strange mixture of relief and tension. They weren't enemies, but they were pawns, and I had to navigate carefully. I returned home and spread everything out on the dining table again, the documents, the notes, the watches. Michael had hidden a trail within a trail, and I had to follow it exactly. The key from the cafe still nagged at me. It had to unlock another hidden compartment, another piece of Michael's secret. But where? I studied the journal, cross-referencing entries and dates. One entry mentioned a safe deposit box at an old family friend's storage unit. That had to be it. Michael had been leaving breadcrumbs, and I was finally ready to follow the next clue. I drove across the city, the streets lined with autumn leaves swirling in the wind. Each step brought me closer to the truth, and closer to the hidden dangers Michael had warned me about. Arriving at the storage facility, I was struck by its unassuming exterior. Nothing about it suggested it contained anything significant, but Michael had always preferred subtlety. Inside, I found the numbered locker. My hands trembled as I inserted the key. The door clicked open, revealing a small chest covered in dust, as though untouched for decades. I opened it carefully. Inside were bundles of letters, receipts, and old photographs, each documenting transactions and relationships I had never known existed. One envelope contained a letter addressed to me in Michael's unmistakable handwriting. He explained the purpose of the documents, the deception he had uncovered, and why only I could complete the task he started. A shiver ran down my spine. Michael had trusted me not just with a watch, but with justice, protection, and secrets that could upend lives. Back home, I laid out the new documents alongside the watches and notes. The pieces were beginning to form a map of deception, betrayal, and hidden intentions that spanned years. I realized that Michael had foreseen Nathan and Lila's involvement. He had anticipated their naivety, their eagerness to please, and had accounted for their actions in his plan. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions. Michael's intelligence, foresight, and careful planning were awe-inspiring. And terrifying. The photograph from the warehouse haunted me. That man, unknown yet important, held a key to the next step. Michael had left me a network of secrets, each connected to another, each requiring careful attention. I began sorting the documents by date, pattern, and names, noticing connections I had missed before. The trail Michael left was like a spiderweb, delicate and intricate. Hours passed as I immersed myself in Michael's world. The watches were more than just objects, they were instruments, markers of his meticulous planning, each containing hints and keys. I felt a pang of loneliness. Michael had trusted me entirely, and I had to rise to the occasion. The burden of his plan was mine alone, and failure was not an option. I traced the clues to another location, a small antique store Michael frequented years ago. The next secret, I realized, lay waiting there, hidden among everyday objects. Night fell, the city lights flickering against the window. I packed the documents, watches, and keys, preparing for another journey into Michael's hidden world. Despite exhaustion, determination burned in me. Michael's trust was not just a gift, it was a responsibility, and I would honor it, no matter the risks. The antique store was quiet when I arrived the next day. Sunlight filtered through dusty windows, illuminating shelves stacked with curiosities from every era. I moved slowly, scanning every display, every nook. Michael's note from the warehouse warned me to trust my instincts, and instinct told me to search near the back. Behind an old globe, I found a loose floorboard. Beneath it was a small tin box, locked. I retrieved the key from my satchel and turned it slowly, heart hammering. Inside the tin was a collection of photographs and letters, documenting years of secret dealings, betrayals, and Michael's quiet investigations into people he had once trusted. Among the papers was a note in his handwriting, "Adeline, the final piece is closer than you think. Those who betrayed us will be revealed, but tread carefully." I realized the stakes were higher than I had imagined. This was not just a family betrayal, it was part of something much larger, a network of deception that only Michael had understood. I sorted the documents, piecing together the narrative he had left behind. Nathan and Lila's actions were small ripples in a much larger pond, and I had to follow the waves carefully. As I worked, the weight of responsibility settled over me. Michael had trusted me completely, and I could not afford mistakes. The city outside was quiet, yet inside, I felt the pulse of secrets, anticipation, and danger. Each revelation drew me deeper into a plan years in the making. I looked at the watches, the keys, the notes. Everything Michael had left me was more than a puzzle, it was a map, a guide, and a warning. The next step would bring me closer to the truth, and the shock waiting at the end. The following morning, I awoke with a renewed sense of urgency. Michael's notes, keys, and watches were spread across the table, each item whispering its secrets to me. I knew I was close to the final piece. The last photograph from the antique store showed a small, nondescript building near the old harbor. Michael had marked it with a subtle symbol I had seen before, embedded in the previous clues. Driving through the early fog, I felt my pulse quicken. The harbor district was quiet, deserted, shadows stretching long along the brick buildings. Something about the silence felt ominous. I found the building Michael had indicated. It looked abandoned, yet the symbol from the photograph was faintly painted on the door, confirming I was in the right place. Inside, the air was musty and cold. Dust covered every surface, but in the corner, a locked cabinet beckoned. I retrieved the last key, sliding it into the lock with trembling hands. The cabinet opened to reveal a small box, wrapped in velvet. Inside lay Michael's original watch, the one Nathan and Lila had sold, alongside another envelope addressed to me. I unfolded the letter carefully. Michael's words described a revelation that would shake everything I thought I knew: hidden assets, secret correspondences, and the truth about someone I had trusted implicitly. My breath caught as I read on. Michael had known about Lila's desperation to fund her boutique and had anticipated the betrayal, but he had also discovered something far more shocking about Nathan. According to Michael, Nathan had been manipulated by someone close, someone whose intentions were darker than we could imagine. The watch had been a test, a key to uncover the truth. I realized then that everything Michael had orchestrated, every clue, every hidden compartment, had led me to this moment, the revelation of betrayal and the final path to justice. I sat on the warehouse floor, the documents and watches around me like a halo of truth. The weight of Michael's planning pressed down, yet a strange clarity emerged. I understood the pattern, the web, the players. Lila had acted out of naivety and ambition, Nathan had been unwittingly complicit. But the mastermind behind the betrayal was someone entirely unexpected, my late husband's business partner, Gregory. Michael had uncovered Gregory's secret dealings years before his death. He knew Gregory would try to claim assets, manipulate family, and exploit trust. The watch had been the bait, a means to expose him. I felt a mixture of shock, anger, and relief. Shock at the depth of deception, anger at Gregory's betrayal, and relief that Michael's meticulous plan had guided me to this truth. Reading further, Michael's letter instructed me to confront Gregory, but only with proof, the photographs, documents, and watches. Everything I had gathered would ensure justice was served. I realized the brilliance of Michael's design. He had orchestrated every step, every clue, every moment, ensuring that I, his wife, would uncover the truth, and not fall victim to deception. The watches were more than sentimental items, they were keys to exposing fraud, manipulating timelines, and revealing hidden motives. Michael's foresight had been extraordinary. I felt a surge of determination. Gregory would not escape. Nathan and Lila, though initially deceived, would be protected. And Michael's legacy would finally bring justice to light. I packed the watches and documents carefully, preparing for the confrontation that would resolve years of hidden deceit. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of control, a clarity that Michael had left me the tools to reclaim our family's honor. The meeting with Gregory was tense. He was surprised, clearly unprepared for someone to possess all the evidence Michael had gathered. His usual confidence faltered under the weight of proof. I presented the documents, photographs, and watches, explaining each step, each hidden clue, each secret Michael had uncovered. Gregory's face paled as realization dawned. You had this all along?" he stammered, disbelief mixing with fear. I nodded. Michael had ensured that only I could execute the final move. I outlined how Nathan and Lila had been manipulated, how Gregory had tried to exploit them, and how every transaction had been documented meticulously. There was no escape, no room for lies. Gregory tried to deflect, but the evidence was overwhelming. Every photograph, letter, and note corroborated Michael's investigation. Justice, as Michael had intended, was now in my hands. Finally, Gregory broke, admitting his deception and greed. He agreed to restore what he had manipulated, leaving Nathan, Lila, and me to rebuild what had been taken from us. I left the confrontation exhausted but triumphant. Michael's plan had worked exactly as he intended. Every clue, every hidden detail, every puzzle piece had led to this moment. Back home, I felt an overwhelming mix of sorrow, relief, and gratitude. Michael had left me not just memories, but the power to protect and restore our family's legacy. The watches now sat on my dresser, symbols not just of time, but of truth, love, and justice. Michael's ingenuity and foresight had saved us all. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to breathe, knowing that the journey had ended, the secrets revealed, and justice finally served. Weeks later, life began to feel normal again, but the lessons of Michael's plan lingered. I had discovered truths, faced betrayal, and embraced the responsibility he had entrusted to me. Nathan and Lila had learned humility and caution, realizing that intentions, however innocent, could have far-reaching consequences. They were grateful and more mindful of their actions. I often held Michael's watch, remembering his love, foresight, and the intricate puzzle he had designed to protect those he cared about. Each tick reminded me of his presence and guidance. The city outside moved on, oblivious to the secrets and drama that had unfolded, but inside our family, trust and honesty were restored, stronger than ever. I had uncovered Gregory's betrayal, protected the family, and honored Michael's meticulous planning. The watch, once a symbol of loss, now represented resilience and truth. Reflecting on the journey, I understood that Michael's final gift wasn't just the clues, but the empowerment to act decisively, to navigate deception, and to ensure justice prevailed. Life had shifted, the shadows of betrayal replaced by clarity, understanding, and renewed love within the family. Each step, guided by Michael, had taught lessons that would last a lifetime. I smiled softly, placing the watches carefully in a display box. They were more than heirlooms, they were symbols of love, foresight, and the enduring power of truth. Even in his absence, Michael had shaped the path of our lives, proving that foresight, trust, and courage could overcome betrayal. And as I closed the box, I whispered to the memory of my husband, "Thank you for trusting me. I kept your secrets, your legacy, and your love alive."